Welcome, everybody. I'm Lane Levanway, and you know what time it is. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about Constantine, Episode 11, A Whole World Out There. Alright, guys, Constantine, Episode 11. We are so close to the end. Come on, Constantine. Keep going strong. Keep going up. Ratings higher. We need that season 2. Now, every week after Constantine, I do one of my top 5 videos. Keep in mind, I'm not reviewing the episode. I'm just doing my personal top 5 moments from the episode. So, this week, John ends up going to the university because there's some problems happening, and we get to meet his buddy, Ritchie Simmons. Now, we have actually met him in an earlier episode. He's one of the Newcastle crew. But he's back in this one, played by Jeremy Davies. And I know Jeremy Davies from Lost, and I really liked him in Lost. And I wish this character would become a more permanent character. But in this episode, some of his students have this ritual that takes you to an alternate dimension. Unfortunately, there's a killer in that dimension, and he wants to slice and dice them. So it was a fun episode. I didn't like it as much as the last few weeks of episodes. But it was still a fun one. It had a more creepy horror vibe, horror movie vibe throughout the entire thing. And I watched it with my wife, and she even made a comment about the creepiness of it. But let's go ahead and get into the top 5, starting with number 1. Okay, my number 1, it's a silly little thing, but in the beginning, John goes to his buddy Richie's class, and he interrupts the class or right before the class ends, or he's leaving, he has a question, because he's trying to be a little bit snarky. But while he's asking the question and talking, there's this blonde that sort of turns around and sees him, and, he's all kicking back. And she's like, smiles, waves, and he's like, so he's like flirting with this random girl sees John. And of course, Matt Ryan's a good-looking guy, so I get it. And plus, as Constantine, he's got the hair and the style and the suave. Plus, he's got an accent, right? So that helps. But it was a fun little moment early on in the episode. Number 2. Okay, so number 2. Now, there's the killer. Once these people go to the alternate dimension and come back, they're sort of linked to this other dimension, and the guy there who controls it, he can sort of like pull them back in through mirror images. And so you get these really great creepy moments when someone's in front of a mirror, like they open the door, there's a mirror, and there he is, rah! Or there's one girl who's dancing, and so it's a wall of mirrors. And he's like, I think he was slightly farther away, and she's spinning, but she's not looking in the mirror because she's dancing, so she always keeps her head focused, in that one spot. So she spins, she whips it right back to that spot. But as she's going across the room, like each mirror, he's closer and closer and closer. And you're like, oh my God. But, and there's even like the image in a cell phone, just the reflection of her looking at her cell phone. You see her reflection. Boom, he's able to grab her. And just some great moments like that. But I really liked the dance one where it's like he's closer and closer and closer. It was very cool. Number 3. Okay, so number 3, we've got a lot of Manny in this episode, and I love Manny. But in this episode, you don't see it too often, but you get to see his wings. It's like they're in the graveyard. Constantine's in the graveyard, and Manny comes flying. You hear the whoo, whoo, boom, and he turns around, and he's on the ground, crouched, with his wings outstretched like he'd just been flying down and landed. And then he stands up, and they stretch out, we did, I think, see his wings in episode 9 when we returned, but it's just very rare, and so I like to see that. And then you see how he's even wanting, like, Ritchie, maybe John, you should get Ritchie to help us out. He sounds like the kind of guy that'll help us out. And then there's a scene where Ritchie and John are going into the alternate dimension to save people, and Ritchie's like, you don't know what would happen if we die in this place. And then John looks up, and there's Manny standing there, and of course Ritchie can't see him, but John's like, I think we're gonna be okay. Like, Manny is there, definitely, as it's going on, more of this guardian angel type vibe, and I really like Manny, and so it's great to see him. In the wings, fantastic. Number 4. Okay, so number 4 it's kind of like a Nightmare on Elm Street thing, because their bodies don't go in. It's a mind only thing, so their bodies stay there, but whatever happens to their consciousness in the other dimension happens to their body. So as this killer is killing them, if they die in real life, and so like some of the people are stuck there. So the main student who's sort of orchestrated this Adam, he goes back in to try to get one of the girls who was taken. And so Ritchie and Constantine find him, and they're trying to, we gotta wake him up. And then the guy in the world starts slicing up, and then he puts his arms up, and so, and as they're sitting there, they can see, like, and they're slicing him open, and blood welling out, and they're like, we gotta hurry up and wake him up, and then you just see his throat just open up. And it was very cool looking, very reminiscent to me of Nightmare on Elm Street. I'm a fan of Nightmare on Elm Street, and it was just cool, not for Adam's character, it wasn't cool, or for Ritchie, because he's his teacher, that's his student, Adam's his student, so it's not cool for them, but for an audience member, who I have no care about Adam or these people, really, because, it worked with them. It was cool, just the effects. Number 5. Okay, number 5 is the end of the episode. They're generally, and I don't do this I do it in chronological order. It's not like by importance. So generally I just sort of go through my notes as I went through the episode. And number 5 is at the end, Ritchie has been, he studies this kind of thing, these alternate dimensions and stuff. And the guy who's here, who runs it, it's his dimension, but Ritchie's like, I've studied this, I can take this over. And Ritchie's dying, but then Constantine's like, you can do this, because earlier in the episode, he's like, he knew enough that he could take a solid wall and he made a door in it so that him and John could keep going inside this dimension. So then he basically, he's hurt, but he looks out the window and he sees just like a barren landscape. It's just this house sort of floating on like a rock that this guy created. And so, Ritchie's just like, you made a mistake or something like that. There's no sun. Ooh, and the sun comes up and shines this bright light through, and then like a life starts growing in fields, and like Ritchie's starting to take control. And then he wipes the guy out, and then the house is actually that man's piece. So when he gets wiped out, the house is destroyed. But this other dimension now, all this other creation is Ritchie's, and he wants to stay there because he's done. The Newcastle thing destroyed him, but John convinces him. Sorry, I see a hair. I'm like, ooh, something pretty in the air. But John convinces him, you need to come back. You can't hide. I know it's tough, but you can't be hiding, and I need you, and you need to be in the real world. But the whole creation thing, very cool. I just liked how he defeated him pretty easily, but that's sort of par for the course for Constantine. The epic battle at the end generally seems to happen pretty quick. But I just liked the creation, how he did it. Okay, so that was my top 5 for episode 11. We are so close. There's only 2 more episodes to go. So there's only going to be 2 more top 5 episodes. But you should still subscribe, because I've got lots of other things. I've got movie reviews, we've got psych flicks, where we analyze characters from a psychological standpoint in your movies, and so you can better understand why you like or hate these characters and where they're coming from. And who knows what else we're going to have coming up on this channel as it slowly is building up. And so you got to subscribe so you can see all of it. You can also find me on Twitter at Lane Levanway, and you can tweet me about things Constantine or movies or reviews you want to see. Put it there, and I'd also leave a comment below if you watched the episode. What did you think? What was your top 5 moments, or at least your top 1? Let's do. What is your favorite moment of this week's episode? So that's all the time we have for right now, guys. That's the laundry list of things. I'm really hoping that this show gets renewed for a season 2. And until next time, watch more TV.